Spring canning is a time for experiments, inventory, and restocking. Today I'm going to take you through my canning day with all of its twists and turns. We will test out a new recipe, restock proteins, squeeze in dinner along the way, and as we're forced out on an unexpected adventure. Canning days require a lot of time in the kitchen, and oftentimes that can leave you trapped at home. But today the unexpected happens, and I'm going to show you how we adapt even when we're canning and how everything turns out in the end. As we turn the corner into spring, I'm starting to run low on a few of my favorite things around the house. Now, typically I purchase a marinara sauce from the store, but I've been inspired to do a little experimenting and pull some of the sauce that I have overstocked on my shelf out, and we're going to try to turn it into a delicious marinara right here at home. The main work of making a marinara sauce was already finished back in the fall when I took out all of the stems, seeds, and skins from these tomatoes. Now, of course, you do have to can them twice because they were canned once as sauce and now they're going to go into the marinara. But if you do just have a glut of tomatoes and turn them into sauce, it gives you a lot of flexibility with what to do with them down the road and gets them out of the freezer, which is super important at my house because we just restocked our beef. The first step in the sauce is just to get it all into the pot and over on the stove so it can be low simmering as we're working on next projects. Anytime I can multitask on projects that don't take a lot of time individually and put them together in one big canning day, I always find that it works out way better in the end because I can take advantage of the time that I'm home. So I have the beef roast, which is one that I actually picked up from Butcher Box a while back. They offer super high quality meats delivered straight to your door. And if you haven't tried them out yet, make sure to do so. They have an awesome deal going on now through May 30th. For any new users that sign up, you'll get your choice of ribeye, New York strip, or filet mignon free in every box for a year. Make sure to check my link in the description to take advantage of that deal before it's gone. But in addition to the beef roast, I picked up a large pork roast as well. The very first thing that I did when I got the pork roast out was go ahead and cut off a large section, which you see over on the right-hand portion of your screen. That is going to be tonight's dinner. I often find when I'm canning that if I don't have something planned to go along with my project, I get to the end of a long canning day in the kitchen and have dishes absolutely everywhere and still feel like I have nothing to eat and no desire to cook anything else. So going with a larger bulk of meat, taking off enough for your specific dinner, and getting it going at the beginning of the day is such a huge gift to yourself at the end. So if you aren't currently doing that, make sure to put it on your list. I promise you will be so grateful at the end of the day when you have something ready to go. Now, it wouldn't be a day at my house without a surprise. And this was the first. There was no water. Thankfully, my reverse osmosis had just enough water left to not only fill the bottom of my Instapot to give it enough to go ahead and cook, but also to wash my hands when I got done with the broth. The one thing we didn't have enough water for was filling up the canner. Now, this day was slammed busy. If this was any normal week, I would have just went ahead and put these in the fridge and processed them another day when our water came back on. But on this specific day, on this specific week, actually, we had 4 days in a row. We're here at baseball games, and we just had a lot going on. So we knew we had to make it work. After consulting my super handy assistant over there, we decided to go ahead and put the rings on top. I did not seal them up the rest of the way because I was still going to do salt, but I wanted to go ahead and get my canner ready to go. So off we went on a little adventure, and I'll show you exactly why our water was out. They were flushing the hydrants and we're working on a water line. So everything that should have been going into our house was running straight down the muddy ditch, and we had no idea when it would be coming back on. So we decided to load up the whole crew, head a few miles down the road to my in-laws' house, and go ahead and get enough water to not only fill up the canner, but to also wash our hands a few times if we needed to. This is one spot where I am lacking in my overall preparedness. Although we do have some water at the house, I just didn't want to use bulk store reserve when I knew we could just run down the road and get what we needed. Plus, the kiddos love playing with the new tiny kittens out there, and we were able to grab a quick bite to eat while my pot filled up. So, double win. It is just definitely a blessing to have family close, and we are super excited to be able to make this quick turn and get back home to go ahead and get the meat processing. As luck would have it, on this specific day, while we were away, I had a pretty awesome stack of deliveries waiting for me when we got home from my friends at Sierra Gadgets. After several months of using their air fryer, I could not wait to get my hands on some more of their gadgets. So we'll open those a little bit later, but first I'm gonna go ahead and get this pot started. I have just enough water to go ahead and fill up the 3 quarts of water that my digital pressure canner needs. Now, I know some of you might not be familiar or might be skeptical of a digital pressure canner, and I can say I was skeptical too, but it has made my life so much easier. Because busy mom style, as soon as I get this canner loaded, I am going to be taking my little one upstairs to nap here shortly so we can get everything accomplished before we head off to tonight's baseball game. Now, quick note on the meat. I genuinely like to sear off every single piece of my meat to make sure that I'm getting a really crispy edge and filling it up to the top with broth. That is not what I'm doing today just based off time. This is going to be the ugly version of canning, but the cool thing about it is it's so simple. On days when you're tight on time, this will get the job done, and you can always put the meat in a skillet later and get those really crisp, nice edges on it. With raw pack, you want to pack it loosely and leave an inch of headspace at the top. It's actually going to end up making its own broth in the jar. It won't completely cover all of the meat, but it will be safe in there after it's sealed, just with the juice that it's made from its own meat. The other cool thing about that is then you have a really nice stock already in the jar. So if you're going to use the meat and not the juice, you can strain off the juice and add it to something else that you're cooking along the way. I love to reserve the juice and put it in rice. I think it's a really great way to enrich whatever you're making and just add a little bit of flavor and nourishment, or we can save it and make a soup out of it as well. Since this is a cold pack recipe, I can put it in a cold canner with cold water and go ahead and set it to the jar warming option. And once that jar warming is complete, we'll go ahead and move it into the full processing. But in the meantime, it's time to go ahead and grab all of those cool gadgets from Sierra right off the front step. After I fell in love with their air fryer and all the innovative ways that it would work, I knew when they contacted me about their gadgets that it's something I wanted to try. Just as a side note, if you missed my upload on air fryer recipes, you should definitely check it out. I will make sure to link it for you at the end. So I want to thank my good friends at Sierra for sponsoring today's content and give you a few more details on all the super cool things that have opened up along the way. Sierra Gadgets is the official extension of Sierra Appliances, who focus on everyday gadgets that are super cool and functional, plus affordable. This cute little mini food chopper is a packed powerhouse that makes chopping and mincing and grinding ingredients a breeze. It's super portable and perfect for anyone looking for quick and easy meals because it only takes 3 seconds to chop up garlic. And it's so convenient to save time. It definitely takes me longer than that to do it with my knife, so I was super happy to add this to the mix. The next item is this Fizzify soda machine. Just a true confession, I love a good soda, and I know it's not super healthy, so I'm looking forward to taking our blackberries off the vine and making our own this year with my new Fizzify soda machine once berries come in season. The other thing I have are these super cool knives. Now, if you noticed in the beginning, I was having a little bit of problem with my knife and decided to go ahead and sharpen it before getting started. But these came in just in the nick of time, so I'm gonna use these through the rest of my prep because they were so dang sharp that I was amazed and really couldn't believe how dull my other knives had gotten, even with me consistently sharpening them. This set from Sierra is the Beyond Trio knife set with bread knife, chef's knife, and paring knife. They have stainless steel braids for precise cutting, ergonomic handles, and a variety of colors. And I can assure you they are way cheaper than what I paid for my other knife set. Check out this donut cooktop. It's a true game changer and something I'm super excited to add to my kitchen. One of the main reasons is you can dial in the temperature anywhere from 140 to 460 degrees with touch controls. I'll give you a few more details on that here shortly, but I want to introduce you to one more super cool gadget before we get back to the cooking. What gadget collection would be complete without a super cool little vacuum sealer? Well, I happen to be a fan of vacuum sealers. You know that if you've been around my kitchen for very long. So I was interested to see what Sierra had done to the overall design and function of this little vacuum sealer to make it different. And let me tell you, they nailed it. This little gadget has 3 different modes to suit your needs, whether you need to vacuum seal only, or use it as an external vacuum mode. It has super powerful suction and really works super fast. And I'll show you a little bit more on that later. Plus, you'll be amazed with how easy it is to store. With all of my new cool gadgets unpacked and cleaned up, I'm ready to get back to making my sauce. But before I do, I want to make sure to let you know that Sierra not only has great prices, but is also offering all of my followers a special discount. So make sure to check the link in the description to Sierra's official website. And I want to thank Sierra again for sponsoring today's video. The sauce recipe that I'm using today comes from the all-new Ball Book of Canning and Preserving. I'm using their oven roasted marinara recipe, which is on page 204 if you happen to have the cookbook. If not, I'll make sure to link that down below for you as well. I do feel like it's one of the best canning cookbooks out there because it has really beautiful pictures to go with almost every recipe as well. And I got it in the spiral format, so it lays open really nicely. This is just a super basic recipe. So you'll need tomatoes, chopped onions, dry wine, whether that be red or white, salt, oregano, pepper, garlic, bay leaves, and then something to acidify. So either citric acid or bottled lemon juice, which is what I'll be using today. So to mince up my garlic, I figured there was no quicker way than to use my new mini chopper. And I was really, really impressed with not only how quickly it handled it, but also how nicely it did the mincing. And as an added bonus for super easy cleanup, the entire bottom, the lid, the blade, and the little container, all 3 go in the dishwasher. I did end up with just a little bit more garlic peel than I actually needed for the recipe. So I figured it was a great time to go ahead and give this little mini vacuum sealer a try. This sealer actually comes with a few bags just to get you started, but the good news is it works on more than just the little bags. There are directions included in how to use all sizes of bags with this tiny little sealer, and it works in seconds. Take a look at this. It actually sealed so fast that I wasn't sure what happened, and so I ended up cutting the top off this bag to seal again just to verify exactly how fast this thing would work. Totally blown away. But I will say, when you are cutting off the top of your bag, make sure that you get it straight, because if you cut it on an angle, of course, it can only seal what is underneath the contacts. So once I got the perfect size here, I was able to seal this up again. This is going to come in super handy as you use and reuse the same bag over and over again. The other super cool function is how easy it is to store. Because it's magnetic, hopefully I won't be looking for it anywhere in any random drawer that my kiddos might put it in, but it is small enough to fit in a drawer really nicely if that's your preference. The next step from Ball was to go ahead and get the onions roasted off. Instead of taking the time to go ahead and heat up my oven, I decided to just test out this cool little donut cooktop. What I found was that it heated up so fast. I was absolutely blown away. My kiddos were actually blown away too. I let them get their hands as safe as closely possible to feel the heat. And in no time at all, my onions were ready to go. The super cool thing about this is you can dial in the exact temperature that you want it to be at. So I think this thing's going to come in really handy when I'm frying things, not only because I can dial in that 350 degrees that I need for the perfect French fries, but also because I won't have grease splattered all over my big oven needing to clean up, because I can just easily wipe that thing down once it is complete. Once the onions are caramelized, that's really the bulk of the time that it takes to cook anything left for the sauce. Although it does have to simmer a little bit after we get everything put together. After the onions are in, all I need to do is add all of the seasonings as well as the dry white wine that you're seeing me add right here to get the recipe finished off. Now, my hope here is to make a marinara sauce that my crew will absolutely love, and I'll be able to wean them off one more thing that we're currently purchasing at the store. You can see my sauce quickly came back to a low simmer. It's bubbling just a little bit. And you'll also notice that my wooden spoon handle is not quite long enough there. I actually leaned it against the inside of the pan, and I did go ahead and cut it out of the footage. But the handle started to slide all the way down in, and I grabbed it right at the last second. So make sure that you're thinking ahead and not too distracted like I was at that given moment, or you might need an extra appliance or to wash something up. I decided just to go ahead and grab a second. Moving on here because we have a baseball game to get to. You can see my little baller is right back there ready to go. As soon as I got this sauce all set to simmer, it was time to go ahead and get the dinner plates together. Remember earlier in the day when we made that pork roast so it would be ready to go for dinner? This is the time when that pays off. Remember, at the time, I didn't know that I was going to be out of water and need to make an extra trip out of the house. And I didn't know how the day was going to progress. But the one thing I did know was that I would have something ready no matter what. The other really cool thing is the meat was able to process in the canner while I was running all of the other projects, plus getting baby down for a nap, and is already done before it's time for us to go to ball. Since I used my digital canner, I did not have to stick around and babysit it as I went on about the rest of my day. That is a huge benefit to anybody who needs to still do life or is really busy at home while they're canning. I know people often think that canning requires full attention, and it does if I'm using my other canners, if I'm completely honest. But the digital canner took the process of canning and threw it into an Instapot style setup. And for me, the freedom that allows me to go on and maintain and do the rest of the projects that I have going on in my house is absolutely invaluable. Making projects faster is kind of a big thing around my house. So anytime I can find something like this donut cooktop that not only heats up super fast, but also makes cleanup a breeze, that's a big win in my book. Now, once I had the sauce to a simmer, I turned off the burner and let it cool down, stuck it in the fridge, and we ran off to baseball. So this is the next morning. Yes, marinara sauce is a hot pack recipe, but since I cooled it off completely in my refrigerator, I am going to put it into cold jars and a cold canner. One of the things that often really makes people think and triple check and double check and all of the things when they are canning is what goes in hot, what goes in cold, how do I need to make this work? The secret to all of that is actually more simple than we make it out to be. If the ingredients going into your jar are cold, then your jars and your canner need to be cold. If the ingredients going into your jars are hot, or your jars are hot, or your canner is hot, then everything needs to be hot. The temperature needs to stay consistent from your product to your jar to the vessel that you're cooking in. And once you kind of take that out of the equation and just think, okay, my food's cold, so cold jars and cold canner will work, then everything is so much easier. Yes, I could have went ahead and heated the sauce back up, but that would have just taken more time. And for me, the efficiency and the time spent in the kitchen is super important. I know this is going to drive some people absolutely crazy, and I'm probably going to get nailed in the comments for it. But on this day, I am going to get everything in my jars, get my canner warmed up, get everything going, and we're going to leave. Now, if you would have told me 5 years ago that I would leave a canner running in my kitchen, I would have said you're absolutely crazy. But once you set the time on the canner, get the jars in and have everything come up to temperature, and then it vents off for 10 minutes, telling you to add the weight. Everything else is automatic. It will count down the full processing time, and then it will kick automatically into the cool down time. So there really is nothing to it once you get that done. As a result, we headed out. My little girlies had spent the night with their grandma the night before. We needed to go pick them up, but also our half beef that we purchased about every 15 to 18 months was ready to pick up. So we headed down to load up all of that beautiful beef and bring it back. So I'll be sharing more on what cuts we got and what the savings was, or if there was a savings on purchasing the full half beef here in the future. But for now, I just want you to know the convenience is there. You can and still accomplish other things around your house. Now, I want to take just a minute to remind you all that I have another channel that I started last week called Pantry to Plate. If you haven't checked it out lately or yet, that's where you'll find all of my cooking and grocery budget content aside from canning. So if you're looking for budget meals or how I stock my pantry and all of those things, you will now find that on the other channel. This will be gardening and canning / food preserving content here. And I would really appreciate if all of you would follow us on over to Pantry to Plate. I was blown away with how my first upload went. And I just thank you all from the bottom of my heart for coming over, checking it out. And I hope the rest of you who haven't yet done that will take the time to come over, because it is going to be so much fun over there to just focus in on what we all love and do every single day. Also, if you have a favorite marinara sauce recipe, if you would drop that below, I would really appreciate it. We are trying this one out. I do like it. I feel like when I go to actually make a recipe, I'll be doing some tweaks just to kind of finish it off to make sure that I'm getting the flavor that my kiddos love. But if you have a favorite, I would love that as well. I'm really looking forward to perfecting that before the next flush of tomatoes comes in here very shortly. So that is sauce and 2 different types of meat on the shelf and ready to go for convenience meals. Thanks for stopping by, friends, and I'll see you back soon.